Embers of Justice. Written by Reuben White. Chapter 1. Shadows of the Past. The desert sun hung low, casting long, eerie shadows across the arid landscape. Jed Carter stood on the ridge, looking down at the sprawling ranch below. Wade Mercer's empire, built on deceit and betrayal, was a testament to the man's cunning and ambition. The rich and fertile land contrasted sharply with the barren wasteland that had nearly become Jed's grave. Jed's fingers brushed the scar on his neck, a constant reminder of Wade's betrayal. The wound had healed, but the bitterness festered, hardening his heart and sharpening his resolve. The once idealistic cowboy was now a force of nature, relentless and unyielding. He had spent years honing his skills, becoming a ghost in the desert, a whisper of death. Night fell, cloaking the ranch in darkness. Jed's time had come. Disguised as a drifter, he approached the ranch, blending into the shadows. He would dismantle Wade's life piece by piece, the way Wade had dismantled his. Chapter 2. The Drifter. Wade Mercer sat in his grand parlour, nursing a glass of whiskey. The fire crackled in the hearth, casting a warm glow on the polished wood and fine furnishings. Yet the wealth and comfort that surrounded him did little to ease his mind. The ghost of Jed Carter haunted him, a spectre of guilt that gnawed at his conscience. A knock at the door broke his reverie. Wade's foreman, Slim Tucker, entered, tipping his hat. "Boss, we got a drifter looking for work. Says he's handy with cattle and horses." Wade frowned. He didn't trust drifters, but good help was hard to find. "Bring him in." Jed entered, his hat pulled low over his eyes. "Evening, Mr. Mercer. Name's Jake." Wade studied the man, sensing something familiar but unable to place it. "You got experience?" "Yes, sir," Jed replied, his voice steady. "I can ride, rope, and shoot. Just looking for an honest day's work." Wade nodded. "All right, you start tomorrow. Slim will show you around." As Jed followed Slim out, he allowed himself a small, grim smile. The game had begun. Chapter 3. Echoes of Betrayal. Days turned into weeks, and Jed became a fixture at the Mercer Ranch. He kept his head down, working hard and earning the trust of Wade's men. But every action, every word was calculated. He learned the routines, the weak points, and the secrets hidden behind the ranch's fade. Wade watched Jed with a growing sense of unease. The drifter was too competent, too focused. Memories of his betrayal began to surface more frequently, the guilt festering like an old wound. One evening, Wade found himself standing by the corral, watching Jed break a wild stallion. The horse bucked and kicked, but Jed's grip was ironclad, his movements fluid and confident. For a moment, Wade saw a flash of the young cowboy he had once called a friend. Shaking off the memory, he turned away, but the seed of doubt had been planted. Chapter 4. The First Strike. The night was pitch black, the moon hidden behind thick clouds. Jed moved silently through the ranch, a shadow among shadows. His target was the barn where Wade kept his prized thoroughbreds. They were a symbol of his success, a testament to the wealth stolen from Jed. Jed slipped inside, the smell of hay and horses filling his nostrils. He worked quickly, setting the charges he had crafted. As he finished, a noise behind him made him freeze. He turned to see Slim standing there, suspicion in his eyes. "What are you doing, Jake?" Jed's hand flashed to his gun. "Get in, even." The gunshot was muffled, a mere whisper in the night. Slim crumpled to the ground, a look of surprise frozen on his face. Jed completed his task and slipped away, leaving the barn to its fate. The explosion rocked the ranch, flames leaping into the sky. Men shouted and horses screamed, chaos erupting in the wake of Jed's revenge. Wade stumbled out of his house, his heart pounding. The sight of the burning barn struck him like a physical blow. As the fire consumed his prized possessions, the realization hit him hard. This was no random act of violence. It was a message. Chapter 5. Haunting Memories. The days following the explosion were tense. Wade doubled security, his paranoia growing. He knew Jed was out there, watching, waiting. The sense of impending doom hung over him like a dark cloud. Jed watched from the shadows, satisfied with the fear he had sown. But this was only the beginning. He began to sabotage the ranch in subtle ways, poisoning the water supply, releasing the cattle, setting traps. Each act was a blow to Wade's empire, a step closer to his ultimate goal. Wade's dreams became nightmares, haunted by visions of Jed. He saw the young cowboy, bloodied and broken, accusing eyes staring into his soul. The weight of his guilt became unbearable, driving him to the edge of madness. One night, unable to sleep, Wade wandered the ranch, his mind a tumult of fear and regret. He found himself by the old oak tree where he and Jed had once carved their initials, a symbol of their bond. Now it was a reminder of his treachery. Wade sank to his knees, the memories overwhelming him. He knew he had to confront his past, but he didn't know how. Chapter 6. The Stranger's Tale. Jed's presence on the ranch became a constant thorn in Wade's side. Desperate for answers, Wade sought out the town's sheriff, a grizzled old man named Hank Lawson. Over a bottle of whiskey, Wade confessed his fears. "I think Jed Carter is back," Wade muttered, his voice trembling. "I thought he was dead, but these attacks, they feel personal." Sheriff Lawson leaned back, his eyes narrowing. "Jed Carter, huh? Heard he disappeared years ago. You sure it's him?" Wade nodded, his hands shaking. "It has to be. No one else has a reason to come after me like this." The sheriff stroked his beard, deep in thought. "I'll keep an eye out. But you better be prepared, Wade. If Jed's back, he won't stop till he gets what he wants." Wade's heart sank. He knew what Jed wanted, revenge, and he feared that nothing would stop the relentless cowboy until one of them was dead. Chapter 7. The Reckoning Begins. The tension on the ranch was palpable. Wade's men were on edge, the constant threat of attack wearing them down. Jed watched from the shadows, biding his time. He knew the moment for his final move was approaching. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Jed slipped into Wade's house. He moved silently, like a spectre, his heart pounding with anticipation. He found Wade in the study, staring at an old photograph of the two of them, younger and full of hope. "Evening, Wade," Jed said, his voice cold. Wade spun around, his face paling. "Jed, I knew it was you." Jed stepped forward, his eyes blazing with anger. "You left me to die, Wade. You stole my share, my dreams. Now It's time to pay." Wade backed away, fear in his eyes. "I had no choice, Jed. I needed that gold. I needed to build something." Jed sneered. "And you built it on my blood. Now I'm going to tear it all down." Chapter 8. The Inferno. The confrontation was inevitable. Wade knew it, and Jed relished it. The final act of his vengeance would be played out in flames. Jed waited until the dead of night. He gathered the kerosene and set the fires, watching as the flames licked the walls of Wade's grand house. The fire spread quickly, consuming everything in its path. Wade woke to the smell of smoke, panic gripping his heart. He stumbled out of bed, the heat intense, the flames roaring around him. He made his way to the front of the house, only to find Jed standing there, his face illuminated by the fire. "Jed, please," Wade begged. "There's still time to end this." Jed shook his head. "No, Wade. This ends tonight." The two men faced each other, the air thick with tension and smoke. Guns drawn, they stood amidst the blazing inferno, their past and present colliding in a moment of reckoning. Chapter 9. Flames and Redemption. The fire roared, consuming everything in its path. Wade and Jed circled each other, their eyes locked in a deadly dance. The heat was unbearable, the smoke choking, but neither man backed down. Jed's finger tightened on the trigger. "This is for everything you took from me, Wade." Wade's eyes were filled with desperation. "Jed, I'm sorry. I was wrong. But killing me won't bring back what we lost." Jed hesitated, the weight of Wade's words sinking in. The fire crackled, the flames closing in. In that moment, Jed saw the truth. Revenge had consumed him, turning him into the very thing he despised. With a roar of anguish, Jed lowered his gun. "It's too late for apologies, Wade, but maybe it's not too late for redemption." He turned and walked away, leaving Wade to face the flames. Wade watched him go, a sense of relief washing over him. He knew he had to make amends, to rebuild not just his ranch, but his soul. Chapter 10. The Dawn of a New Beginning. The fire reduced Wade's grand house to ashes, but from the destruction, a new resolve emerged. Wade dedicated himself to righting his wrongs, helping those he had wronged, and rebuilding his life on a foundation of honesty and integrity. Jed disappeared into the desert, a ghost once more. But this time he carried with him a sense of peace. He had confronted his past, faced his demons, and in the process found a glimmer of redemption. The sun rose over the horizon, casting its golden light on the scorched earth. The ranch, though battered and bruised, stood as a testament to the enduring spirit of the West, and as the dawn broke, it heralded a new beginning for both men, bound by their shared history and their quest for redemption. Years later, tales of Jed Carter and Wade Mercer became legend. In saloons and campfires, their story was told, a story of betrayal, revenge, and redemption. It was a reminder that even in the harshest of landscapes, the human spirit could find a way to heal and rebuild. And somewhere, in the vast expanse of the desert, a lone cowboy rode into the sunset, his heart at peace, knowing that he had finally found his reckoning at sundown. If you are enjoying adventures in the Old West, feel free to hit the subscribe button for future posts.